The Celtics just traded a player who averaged almost 29 points a game and was openly campaigning for MVP. And when the real reason leaked out, it was jaw-dropping. Boston did not even think Jaylen Brown was their best player last season. According to Brian Windhorst, they thought Derek White was, a guy who scored 12 fewer points a night. So today, we put both players side by side, the box score and the deep analytics, to answer one question. Who actually helped Boston win more? Let's break it down. So here's the plan. First, the quote, because you have to hear exactly what Boston said. Then the surface, the basic box score, where this looks like an easy answer. Then the deep analytics, the plus minus and the on-off numbers, where it gets weird. And finally, the honest verdict, plus the money reason nobody wants to say out loud. Stats are verified, the read is mine, and keep one question in your head the whole way. Was Boston right or just spinning? This is Game is Culture. Quick thing before we go deeper, if you like breakdowns that actually open up the advanced numbers instead of yelling about points per game, subscribe. Because the deep stats here say something you are not going to expect, and you will want to be here for it. Start with the words themselves, because they are stunning coming from a front office about a finals MVP. This is what reportedly went on inside Boston's building. Here is what Brian Windhorst reported. Even though Jaylen Brown was talking about himself for MVP, the Celtics did not feel like he had the best season on their team. They felt Derek White had a better season. And the reason given was simple. They believed White impacted winning more. Now remember, White was an all-defensive first-team pick and finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. So Boston is not talking about scoring. They are talking about impact. So let's test it, and we start on the surface with the plain box score, because that is where Boston's take sounds absolutely crazy. Jaylen Brown carried the Boston offense. With Jason Tatum out most of the year on a torn Achilles, Brown averaged almost 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. He did it on a 36% usage rate, the second highest in the entire NBA. Nobody on this team touched his scoring load. On the box score, he was the engine. Now Derek White, 16.5 points, 4 rebounds, and a team-high 5.5 assists a game. Solid, but 12 fewer points than Brown. If you only read this card, you would laugh at the idea that White had the better year. But look at that block number, 1.3 blocks a night from a guard. That is the first hint that White's real value does not live on this card. Put the box score head to head, and it is a blowout in Brown's favor. More points, higher usage, the bigger name. If this argument were about counting stats, it would be over before it started. Brown wins the eye test and the highlight reel going away. So Boston has to be looking at something the box score cannot see. And here is the twist that makes this fun. You would assume Boston's case is efficiency, that White was the smarter shot taker, but it is not. Brown was actually the more efficient scorer this year. His true shooting was 57%. White's dipped to 53% because his outside shot went cold. So the Celtics are not even leaning on efficiency. Their entire argument lives in one place: impact. So we leave the box score behind and go into the deep numbers. The plus minus, the on and off court splits. This is where Boston's case suddenly stops sounding crazy and starts sounding scary. Start with raw plus minus, the simplest measure of the scoreboard while you play. Over the whole season, Boston outscored opponents by 598 points with Derek White on the floor. With Jaylen Brown, that number was 321. Both are good, but the lower usage, lower scoring guard came out almost 300 points ahead. That is not what the box score predicted.
But the number that Boston is really staring at is the on-off split. Public tracking data with garbage time stripped out had the Celtics at plus 6.8 per 100 possessions with White on the floor. With Brown on the floor, they were minus 6.2. That is a 13-point swing between the team's two stars. In the language front offices actually speak, White's minutes looked like winning basketball and Brown's did not. And the impact numbers have friends. White was an all-defensive first-team guard who blocks over a shot a game and finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and he barely turns it over, just 1.7 times a night against Brown's 3.6. So White gave Boston elite defense, clean offense, and 77 games of availability. That is the exact profile a modern front office falls in love with. So we have a split decision. The box score screams Brown. The impact numbers whisper White. Which one actually tells you who helped Boston win more? Here is where you have to be honest in both directions. On the impact side of the ledger, White sweeps it. Higher plus minus, a massively better on-off swing, elite two-way defense, half the turnovers, more games played. Every single one of those categories points the same way. If the question is strictly which player's minutes correlated with winning basketball last season, the honest answer, shockingly, is Derek White. But now the honest counter, because these numbers have a catch. On, off, and plus minus are heavily driven by role. Brown had the second highest usage in the league, carrying a Tatumless offense and dragging around bench-heavy lineups. That crushes your on-off. White got to play next to the best units and pick his spots, so the metrics flatter the clean role player and punish the overloaded star. The gap is real, it is just not as clean as Boston makes it sound. So on my dial, who had the more winning season? I lean White, but with a big asterisk. In the exact roles they played, White's minutes moved the needle more, and Boston's read is defensible, not insane. But that is a very different thing from saying White is the better player. He is not. Brown carrying that offense at that volume is a harder job than the numbers give him credit for. Which leaves the real question. If White had the better impact season, is that actually why Boston traded Brown? Or is that the story they tell to feel good about a decision that was really about something else? Here's the part nobody wants to say. Jaylen Brown is on a $304 million supermax. Derek White makes a fraction of that. So when the new tax rules made Brown's deal painful, the analytics handed Boston the perfect cover. They did not have to say we could not afford him. They got to say, the numbers showed White helped us more. The impact data is real, but it is also very convenient. So did the Celtics get it right? The answer is more layered than either side wants it to be. Here's where I land. You can believe two things at once. One, Derek White genuinely had a fantastic winning season, and the impact numbers back Boston up. And two, trading a 29-year-old finals MVP for an older player and picks is still a talent downgrade. Both are true. Boston used a real analytic argument to justify a financial decision. That is not lying. It is just not the whole story. The stats were the reason they could point to. The Supermax was the reason they needed one. So there it is. By the box score, it is Brown in a landslide. By impact, it is White in the roles they played. And underneath all of it sits a $300 million contract. So tell me, did the Celtics make a sharp analytical call, or did they just talk themselves into a cost cut? Drop it below. And we are so close to 1,000 subs, so subscribe to stay up to date.